Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. Yes, we're having a sit down with Cynthia from Ready to Love Miami. It's been a crazy season, and so we have to bring her on to have a real conversation. I know many of you want to find out what happened between her and Anthony. Why was she sitting with her back towards Anthony? Everybody wants to know why Andre. What was it about Andre that drove her towards Andre as well? Many questions. We're going to get all the answers today. So I've brought on Cynthia, and we're going to have a real good conversation. How you doing today, Cynthia? You all right?
I'm doing swell. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm feeling nice. I'm feeling nice, and I'm ready to have a good conversation with you today.
Well, look, I'm ready to get this season all wrapped up.
Mm,
So I'm ready to
okay.
have this conversation and wrap it up.
No worries at all. All right, cool. Let's have a real conversation. But before we get to that stage, let's ask some questions. I like to do what we call human verification. Okay.
Okay.
So just a few questions. So my first question for you is favorite color.
So that's tricky. I don't
Mm,
have one.
okay.
Okay. So gunmetal gray
Ooh.
with velvet
Mm,
is my two favorite combinations. Other than that, it's just fall colors. Burnt orange,
mm,
like earth tone, brown, green. You see, I wear a lot of green. Yellow. Those earth tones. But ultimately, that gunpowder gray and velvet is my favorite two combinations.
is there a story behind the gun color
No,
and
well, I think the thing is not. I just like that gray because it's rich. But I used to teach psychology in high school, AP
oh
psychology, and I know a lot about the color schemes. And that color is just warm and inviting. So what I did was when I started teaching, I painted my back wall that color so that when the students come in, they could just be calm in my class. So it's just more so like of a calm color. I love being calm. Like I love being in peace. You know.
mm,
Mhm.
okay. I like that. I like it. Okay, cool. Second question. Very simply, favorite number.
7.
Mm, why seven? Any story behind that?
I'm the seventh child. My name has 7 letters. My husband' name probably have 7 letters. Um,
I only have four,
seven,
so okay, that's a shame. Mm.
7 is the number of completion. So I like 7. You know.
Okay, okay. I'm
So
with you.
last year
I'm
was
with
my year of 7. That's
you.
why it was so
Mm.
important.
How was last year?
Last year was hectic. We filmed the show last year. A lot of things transpired last year, and I felt like the wrapping of it was just the completion of what I basically needed to do, or basically to see myself. I think that's what it was all about.
Mm. Okay, I'm with it. I'm with it.
Mhm.
And then final question for human verification: cereal or the milk in the bowl first?
The cereal, then the milk.
Mm. The cereal, then the milk.
Yeah. What? Why? Was?
Just wondering why the cereal's going in before the milk.
But what do you mean? Like you need to know how much milk to pour in. So you put the cereal first, and then you pour the milk. You don't want to have too much milk and then less cereal. I just pour the cereal first. I don't know. That's
Mm.
interesting.
Mm.
Why is that a
Mm.
question?
Just fascinated. Wanted to know.
Oh, you wanted to know? Okay,
Just
okay.
wanted to know. Yeah.
Cereal
Do
first,
you
then milk.
do you even eat cereal? Do you eat cereal? 'Cause a lot of people don't eat it. So.
I don't. I mean, that's not my go-to breakfast, but I do have cereal because
Mm.
I have kids.
Okay.
But
Okay.
because not my go-to.
You a bit more of an oatmeal person. You look like someone you like eat healthily, like
I
oats and stuff
do.
like that.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oats,
mm,
nuts,
okay.
things like that.
Them kind of things. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Listen, I think you've passed our human verification. Okay, as well. So I think you're human, and I think that's good. If we've
Yeah.
passed flying
Let
colors.
me, let me, let me picture
Yeah,
myself. I'm alive.
that's it. Brush on the shoulder. Brush on the shoulder.
Mm.
Um, so let's get to know you a bit better because I think we see you on Ready to Love,
Mhm.
and we can formulate our own ideas throughout the course of the season. but we want to get to know you first. So my first question to you, Cynthia, is who is Cynthia and what is her story?
Well, Cynthia is a young lady that fought a lot in life to get through everything. You know, and it's kind of funny because I'm the youngest of the seven, and the youngest always fighting for their place, right? And so I always felt like that. Like I'm always fighting. Everything that I do is a fight. And I went through life like that. I've accomplished many things that way. So it gives you a little backstory of the strength that I have. Um, I believe in, if you want something, you go get it. You don't allow nothing to stop you. You fight to get it. Whatever, you do what you need to do in order to do what you want to do. That's my model. I grew up in Miami, Florida. Like I mentioned, I'm the seventh of seven children. I have only one brother. um, you know I wasn't one of those kids that went through, you know it was consistent. My life was consistent basically through elementary all the way to high. It was consistent. I was the first to leave the nest. Struggled a lot when I went to college. Almost failed my first year. That built character. Got through that, and came back to Miami. Wish I never did that, but I came back to Miami. And, got a job. Had two kids, and ended up on Ready to Love. Without
No,
saying too
that's
much.
no. Listen, we love that explanation. So you said something interesting. You said you had to fight even from a
Yeah.
young age. Give us a bit more understanding
So,
about
so the
what you're saying.
reason why I say that is because I'm the first Haitian American.
Okay.
So my road wasn't paved for me. So I had to pave it. So it was important for me to pave it for everyone else that was coming behind me, including my children, my nieces, and my nephews. So everything wasn't easy for me. I had to go figure it out. I had no one to turn to tell me, okay, this is what you do next. This is what you do next. So it was always me fighting to get to the next step, the next level. So that's what I meant when I said that. So with that, building my character, I often fight for the things that I want and want to accomplish. Not physically fight, but you know what I mean. I don't really give up that easy.
No, I totally understand that, and I totally understand. I totally get where you're coming from. I think it's interesting what you said just a minute ago. You said obviously having to almost pave the way for others. You said you were the youngest of seven, right?
Hmm.
So that's quite interesting because obviously, usually the oldest is the one that has to kind of do the inroads. So I guess give us a bit more understanding in terms of your upbringing. What was that like then? If you having to almost kind of, like you said, be the first to leave the nest and
Right.
pave the road and stuff like that. Give us a bit more of an idea of what that was like for you.
So my parent, just to give you a back road, I mean a background in why my parents are Haitian. So my first five siblings are from Haiti. And me and my oldest, my brother, he's before me. Only us two is American, right? So boys usually take a little longer to figure things out, and I was always trying to compete with him. So in competing with him, he was not going to leave the nest. I'm the one that I was the rebel. I do everything opposite. So this is why I had to pave the way, because it's like I'm not gonna. This is not what I wanted my life to be like. I don't want to grow up like this. I don't want to live like this. I want change. So I got up and I left. It was the hardest thing for me to do, especially if you know anything about Caribbean parents, they don't like their kids leaving the nest. We're very much like a collective culture. So me leaving the nest was like a funeral. I had to watch my mom crying like, listen, I'm leaving anyway. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I said I had to really pave the path. Everybody like kind of followed the rules, like my sisters, they didn't leave the nest until they were like in their late 30s. Like I was out. Like, I was out. I was gone.
Mm. You speak obviously quite fondly, like I said, the Haitian and the American kind of
Uh-huh.
cultures together as well. What was that like for you then? Because obviously, like I said, you're one of the youngest, but then like I said, your older siblings from Haiti, but you yourself have the dual identity. So,
Mm-hmm.
kind of growing up, what was that like trying to maybe understand your place in the world, trying to balance both cultures in a sense?
I think for me, I was misunderstood a lot, because by the time they came here, I think I was already in the third grade when the first two came, and we didn't really get along because we was just different. Like when people ask me, "Oh, what's your culture?" I'm like, it's like a blend for me. Like, yes, I grew up with Haitian parents, but I also went to school with Americans, and I was taught something else. So what I did for me, I basically pick and choose from each culture what I wanted and made it my own. You know what I mean? So with my siblings actually only having one side of that, I did conform to them, but only when I wanted to. Like if it wasn't something that I agreed with, I did not. I was that I was that young girl. Like when I would go to Haiti, I would dress like my sisters. I would do my hair like my sisters. I would do what they would do. Just so they could see how accepting I was of them. But when they came here, it wasn't really like that for them. I guess they were just older and stuck in their ways, and I just looked like the child that was the rebel that didn't listen. And things like that. And I'm like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Because y'all only have one side. But as I grew up, I understand. And I think that's why I'm so accepting of people, is because I understand, like, everybody is who they are, and you have to learn to accept people for who they are. You can't try to really change people. You just gotta, embrace who they are, because life basically shaped them. And I'm very accepting. So I call myself culturally intelligent. I can kind of adapt to any culture and environment. So I guess it
Love
wasn't a
that.
bad thing. Hmm.
Love that. So, obviously, what for you did you see then as a youngster out there in the world? So, like, because obviously, like I said, you have different culture. Like I said, you're a bit more of a rebel. You're seeing
Hmm.
things differently. What were you seeing differently in the sense of out there in the world that you thought, I want to go and get that. I want that.
So what allowed me to see the world was television, right?
Mm.
So I referenced this before. Um, I watched the Cosbys. I consider myself like a Claire Huxtable, to be quite honest. So, they were different. Ooh, wait, I need to put the charger on. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold
Don't
on.
worry, grab your time. Take your time. You're good.
Let me see what my computer looks like. Maybe I could plug it in here. Yeah, so I found myself getting lost in, shows like the Huxtables and books. And I created my own imaginary world, but I was able to see people that look like me. So representation when we speak is so important, you know? And I also grew up in a single parent household, and they had two parents. So I knew that that was something that I also wanted. I wanted to be able to afford the life that I wanted. I wanted to afford the life and give my kids opportunity, to broaden their horizon and things like that. So any show that was doing that was my show, So and also I got more to say. So I also became a Latter-day Saint. Okay. So
LDS, Latter Day Saints.
Mormon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Woman, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So my parents are Catholic. I was baptized Catholic, but the missionaries used to come around all the time, and we became real, real close. And then I started going to their church, and they were different. They were predominantly white, a white church, and things like that. But they used to do things like camping and dance, and my Haitian mom was not letting me do those things. So I'm like, you know what? I'm about to get into this church because she trusts them, and she's gonna let me, go with them. So, I did, this is middle school. So, I joined the church and it was great. Like, some of the people in the church, we were still friends. And, we used to go to their house. So here in Florida, there's a place called Plantation. I don't stay too far from Plantation. They had these big houses. I'm talking about like 8 bedrooms. They had these pantry, like these big closets with like a whole bunch of unperishable food because they thought the world was going to end in 2000, right?
Mm.
So I'm like, you know what? That's smart. So if the world ends, they're going to have enough food, and things like that. So it made me want big homes. Hence why I'm in real estate. Also, the movie Thin Line Between Love and Hate, right? And a key thing about me is that I always stick to the positive. When people
Mm.
think about thin line between love and hate, they remember what she did to Martin, right? You know, but I remember how poised she was, how good she looked. I remember her office. I remember her profession. I was like, I like that. I want to be like that. I'm a real estate agent. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I allow certain shows, movies that I watch, books, real life experience to shape the world that I wanted. I collected bits and pieces and be like, okay, this is gonna be what I want. So those are the things that allowed me to broaden my horizon to basically shape who I am today.
Love that. And you mentioned obviously coming from a single parent home, if I'm correct,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's never easy. Both
Mm-mm.
men and women growing up, but how do you feel that impacted you growing up? Coming from a single parent household.
Um, I did have a stepdad. At some
Okay.
point. I did have a stepdad, but I wanted my dad, you know. Um,
Mm.
I just know when it comes to, because I have children and I'm not with their dad. I just know whoever I want around my children, I want them to be actively in my children's life. I don't want them to be someone that's in a home that we're sharing bills with. I want to really have a life. I want them to really be included in my kids' activities. I want them to really love my kids, really be invested in the things that they want. Like, I really want something wholesome. I know I don't want nothing like what I had growing up as a stepdad. And also, what that did to me too was also made me fight a lot for my family, just so I wouldn't have that outside dynamic. And I had to change my mind and say, I can pick and choose who I bring into my life. I don't necessarily need to, pick what I don't want. I have a choice because a lot of you know, single women with children, because I don't like the term single mom. Single woman with children, because that's who we are. We're single women and we have children. We tend not to want to talk about certain things that happened to us, that transpired from, past relationships and how it really affect us. And that's important to vocalize because when you're honest with yourself, you end up making better decisions because now you put those concerns that you have or those experiences that you experience, you put them in the forefront of you, you know, and that allows you to see it. We try to bury a lot of things because we do go through a lot. You got guys
Mm.
that want to waste your time. You got guys that think you're easy. You got guys that think you're a damsel in distress. You got guys that feels like, apart from being a damsel in distress, oh, you need help, so you're willing to accept any and everything, and that's not true. you know are there women, single women with children that are like that? Yes, but they don't speak for the collective. You know what I mean? And so we do go through a lot, and I think it's because we don't really vocalize, and we just look like, oh, we're bitter or we're just strong. No, we know that some of you guys come to play, so we're not really gonna just let you come in. Like, that's why I applaud the single mothers with children that fight the good fight and do what they need to do for their children in order to get a great bonus dad into their life, not just to accept any and everything, that comes your way. And it starts with being honest with yourself. You know what I mean?
I
So
get what you're saying. I do.
mhm.
I guess I want to ask another question to kind of qualify what you kind of were mentioning.
Mhm.
The dynamic that you kind of saw then with stepdad. Why should I say? What did you see that you didn't necessarily like, or it wasn't working for you in that sense? What was the dynamic that you saw?
He thought his child was better than my mom's child.
Oh, okay.
He was doing things for his child he wasn't doing for my mom kids. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
my dad went back to Haiti. I think I was about 6 months. He went back to Haiti. My mom had 5 kids. Well, one of my brothers passed, so it was just 4 of them then.
sorry
4
about that.
kids that's not his kids. And he took care of them. My dad was a real stand-up guy while we was in America dealing with this guy, you know? But then his son just went left. His son was sleeping with married women, his girl ended up poisoning his son. You know what I mean? I mean, that's TMI, but I'm just saying, like, you don't look down on other people's kids. Because look at my brother, he's a CEO, he's very successful. Look at me, I'm very successful, and your son is in the grave. You know what I mean? So I I looked at that as like a real negative, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to be like my mom. I'm just gonna make it work. Whatever it is, I'm trying to make it work. But sometimes you just can't make it work. Just like my mom could not make it work with my dad. So what do? Do you stay by yourself, or you find someone that's like-minded like you, that cares like for their child like you do? And I know that in some instincts people are going to respect your children the way you respect your children. People are going to
Mm,
treat your children the way you treat your children. And in my mom case, that wasn't it. And I was young, and I was able to pick up on that. You know. Well, he liked
mm.
me more than he liked my brother, but I would never forget some of the stuff he said to my brother. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Sounds sounds like there's um, a lot of pain in those times with that dynamic.
Well,
You
I
know.
mean, to be quite honest, being at this age, I understand it a little better than I
Okay.
did back then. So, you know, it just basically shaped me in the way that I view things, to be quite honest. I'm going to call my kids. I'm sorry. Jalen, bring me a glass, please. Yeah, so it basically, I bring me a glass. Yeah, so, it was right now is nothing. But back then, I didn't really understand it. Now I have more logic,
Understanding.
yeah, of what was going on.
Mm.
Thank you.
No, I mean that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Um, I guess because I was trying to figure out where like you said, you had to fight as well. So I was assuming there was some kind of tension within the home as well because of what we saw on the show. And I always ask people when they come on here, I always say, we normally find out there is something that was making them feel almost unsafe emotionally in the home. You know what I mean?
Mm,
If that makes sense.
mm.
Would that be in alignment of what you felt? Did you feel emotionally safe within the home with
I
that
don't,
dynamic
I
that had
don't,
going on?
I don't, to be quite honest, I don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe. I don't know. I never thought about that. I never thought about that. So I don't know. Maybe.
Were you free to express your emotions and how you felt? Did you feel comfortable
Well,
doing that in the house?
In a Caribbean household, you
Mm.
don't really talk. You know, you don't really speak. But I could remember in about like 7th grade, I had this big explosion, and I don't think I ever stopped expressing myself since then. And when
Mm.
I do find myself like feeling like I can't express myself, I'm very uneasy. Like I'm not the best me. The person won't get the best me because I'm not feeling free to speak, and I know what that feels like, and I don't like that. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. You might be onto something there. We might be
Oh
onto
yeah,
something. Look at you. Look at you know.
but I
You
don't have
might be
7 letters in my
onto
name, so
something.
um, just joking. No, no. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm,
And I think we're getting a better sense of where you're coming from because I'm
mm,
trying to understand where this need to fight and the strength is coming from because the hardest. I always say this as well, and the audience will know if they've been with me long enough. The people that fight the hardest are usually the people that were the most unprotected. So this is why I was asking some of those questions.
yeah,
You
you
know,
might
would
be
that
right.
resonate with you?
You might be right. You might
Mm.
be right. Yeah.
So,
Did you feel like I
yeah,
fought
go
in
on.
this show? Did you pick that up? Did you feel like that?
Um, Not necessarily fought, but I would say during the course of the show, whenever we talk about women and the way that, especially in the Black community, how we express ourselves and how we are able to relate to the opposite gender.
Hmm.
Whenever there is a tough kind of emotional exterior, there's a hard cookie kind of exterior, there's usually a reason why that person is so tough on the outside. Like you was explaining to us, you've had to fight, you've had to hold your own. One of the youngest out of seven. And so there are different things. But then when you mentioned about the stepdad, that really kind of drove it home as to why there's a tougher exterior. When we talk about women and talk about emotions, we talk about the masculine, the feminine, and oftentimes when women carry more masculine, meaning the protection aspect of themselves, right? The hard shell, it's not because they're masculine per se, but it's because they are used to protecting themselves. So the walls come high because I can only depend on me. I can't depend on other people. So I have to build up those walls so that no one else can just jump over and hurt me again. And that usually stems from things in childhood where you've had to look after you in a sense. So I think that's what we got from the show.
Well, I can say this. Um, I grew up around boys.
Mm,
I was the sister that my brother used to be like, "Why are you here? Like, can you go with the girls? Can you go play with the dolls?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to play with that. That's boring." I always loved being around my brother. And like I say, it was us two for a long time. And my male cousins, and it was a lot of them. So my appreciation for great men come from them. And I also think my strength come from them, from being
mm,
around them for so long. And they used to tell me all the time, "Listen, you a girl, you know, you gotta stop being so tough." And I'm like, "Why?" But my cousin used to always tell me, "It's gonna take that one guy to come around. That one
mm,
guy is gonna come around and you just gonna be soft. You just gonna melt." But I think because I had my brother and my cousins, it did help build me to be tough. And I think I went through life being tough, like not really
mm,
letting people come in, because every time you let somebody come in, they kind of disappoint you, right? But like, what is disappointment? Because it's like people don't allow people to make mistakes. You know what I
mm,
mean? It's like it's a it's like a forbidden thing. Like nobody is perfect. And as you get older, you understand that. People make mistakes. Everybody had a different route that they took in life. They experience different things, and you gotta have grace. So I feel like I have a lot of grace. And I think I had a lot of grace for the wrong people.
mm,
Now I didn't let that change who I was or who I am. I just have better, and I don't want to use this word, and I'm not even going to say it because it was said on the show and it was used wrong, so I'm not even going to say it. It just helps me, basically navigate through life better. you know
I hear.
you got to be able to recognize who is here for real, who is real about what they're saying. And then you can allow and give those people, certain people, grace. You can't walk around giving everybody grace because people out here playing. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I don't know if if having bad experiences with guys also added on to my toughness, because I've always been tough since a little girl. I've always been tough. Listen, I'll jump before my brothers jump. I'll jump before my cousins jump. That's how I was, and that's why they love me to death. They got my back to death. Like I'm loved. I'm loved with my friends. I'm loved with my family. Because I'm the one that usually jump the gun. Like I'm very, very protective. You know what I mean? So I don't know, and I always felt the need that I had to protect everybody. I don't know why. They could protect themselves.
Mhm.
It's crazy. So I don't know. I don't
I
know.
mean, listen, I really do identify with that, so I don't think you're alone in that. And I think part of it is your nature.
Mm-hmm.
Did ordinarily how you respond to stimuli. Some people like
Mm-hmm.
to fight, some people like to, take flight, some people freeze, some people flop,
Right.
some people befriend, depending on how they are and their nature. You are
Right.
naturally inclined to fight. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily to do with your situation, that's just your nature. But
Yeah.
then when you add that in a way where, and I think as Black people, our childhoods is fraught with uh, emotional mental threats,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like you mentioned about even the situation with a stepdad, that's an emotional mental threat,
Mm-hmm.
right? And unlike everyone else, your response to it is dependent upon your nature. Your nature is to, when situation comes up, I'm ready to defend, I'm ready to fight. And then that makes you somebody who wants to defend everybody, because not everyone responds the exact same way you do.
That's true.
So that's part of it, is your nature. But
Mm-hmm.
then when you're consistently having to fight battles emotionally and mentally, you start to learn how to put on armor. And when you're in survival mode, it becomes about surviving rather than thriving. And in survival mode, emotions are not that important.
Mm-hmm.
So it can make sense why you were drawn to the boys too, because how men navigate the world oftentimes through those situations isn't to address emotions. It is to survive. It is to provide. It's to achieve. It's to have accomplishments, which actually covers up the reality of the individual human being and their emotions and what they're going through emotionally and mentally. So yes, nature has permitted you to have that guardian protector energy. But then when you put you in a place or an environment where you're constantly being bombarded and hit with things,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to make it much harder for you to be more vulnerable when war is over and peace is at time. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, you got to take
Yeah.
off your armor. It's like, I can't take off my armor because I don't know when the next war is coming. So I just got to keep on the armor, and I can't be too vulnerable because y'all people be playing too much. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
It's true. And that's why my friends were so proud. They was like, you was just straight vulnerable on this show. I was proud of myself. I think I just got tired of being that way. You
Mm.
know. So I don't know. You sure you don't have like a little PhD in psychology, or you sure? Let me see. Ooh, a little black book 91.
I ain't gonna no PhD around here, just observing and just listening to people,
Mhm.
observing, listening to people. So obviously, then for you personally, going
Mhm.
into relationships, then, in fact, one question before I go into that, I got one question.
Mhm.
So, what is your what was, maybe not now, but what was your relationship beforehand with vulnerability, because and sharing your emotions? What was your relationship with that?
So I'll talk about the one relationship that should have counted,
Oh, okay.
and I wasn't available for it. I wasn't available for it. I'm so I like familiarity, right? And that's not always good. That's not always good. It's good to date new people and things like that, but it's just the unknown, not knowing about them. Like I felt like in the show, we didn't learn a lot about the men. The men learned more about us. We had to bring the X. They didn't have to. They just had to show up. They
Mm.
brought the family member, but the family member and the friend, it was still in their best interest. Like they didn't. We don't know anything about them, you know, and that's what scares me. Well, that's what used to scare me. It's just the unknown. But I figure out with time and a little bit of research, you'll kind of figure things out, you know. So when I dated this particular individual, I just wasn't ready. I was fresh out of a long-term relationship, and he was ready and I wasn't. And I was like, you know what, I really need time to kind of like digest what just transpired, and really deal with what I have built in that relationship to survive. I need to break that down so I can be good for you. And that particular individual didn't want me to do that. He was like, oh, we can do it you can do it simultaneously. I'm like, I can't. But I get why he didn't want to let me go, because when he kind of figured out me as an individual, he I was of value. So he didn't want to let me go, but I needed him to let me go. And I found myself doing that too. Like, when you meet someone and you like them a lot and they have good value, they may need time. Me, when I say I need time, I don't want to talk to you no more. You know what I mean? But for somebody like for guys, if they need time, they probably need time to process. It's just like you say. Some people, they flight. Some people, they kind of freeze. The people that freeze kind of need the time to actually process what happened. And I didn't want to hear all that. And at that time, he didn't want to hear all that. But he, he was a relationship that was significant, but it wasn't emotional.
Ooh.
you know so that's how I describe it. Me being emotionally detached, that just comes from what I mentioned earlier. Like, people want to play, and you gotta allow yourself time to know people. You don't have to automatically attach yourself with them emotionally. But you know how you mentioned men go through life, they don't really deal with their emotions, they get things. So when you meet a guy that's like trying to express their feelings, I'm like, why you feel like this? Like, why you can't get over this? Like, why you still stuck on this? Can you just leave that alone? Because I'm a person, like I talk about having a fight all the time. I just like to be happy. I joke all the
Mm.
time. You'll see me on the screen. My teeth is always out. I want to be happy if I'm not crying. But I like to be happy. I'll cry happy tears too. But I just like to be happy. So it's like, when I see like a dark cloud is trying to come in, I just want to just stop it, like get rid of it, like real quick. Like, why we gotta do this? Let's just talk about it and get over it. But everybody is not like me, and I felt like me doing that was me not wanting to really deal with my true emotions, because I
Mm.
didn't want to attach. You know what I mean? But I didn't know that I was doing it. I didn't really
Mm.
know that I was like that. I didn't know that's what I was doing until the show. It was a part in the show when they didn't air this one, when the psychic came and she was like, it's a part of your heart that's closed. You know, once you figure that part out, you'll be able to fall in love. And when I was going through my trials and my challenges, that's what happened. And that's when I was able to be like, oh shoot, like, damn. It was like an epiphany. I
Mm.
was like, oh my God. I didn't realize I was doing it. And like you said, you got to know when to take the armor off. You don't really need to do that anymore. But
Mm.
that's a process. You know what I mean? You got to first be able to know what it is. And once you're able to identify it, then you can work on it. But you also got to know when you're in a situation when you don't have to really fight anymore. At least not
Mm.
yet. You know what I mean? All that takes time, you know? Yeah.
That relationship that should count but didn't count. Are we talking about Anthony?
No, no,
A different relationship. Okay. Okay. I just want to make that clear. I just want to be
no.
okay.
I'm
So
not
that
talking about
relationship.
Anthony.
Okay. So that was a different relationship. Okay. So once obviously you realize that let me not say that. Okay, let me answer. Okay, so there's a burning question in my head now, which is who disappointed you first? Who was your first disappointment, Cynthia?
What do you mean? Like,
Who was your first person you felt let you down?
probably my father. You know,
Mm,
it had to be him. Even though I was what we had a relationship though. It was just not a consistent one because he was not here. You know, I've been to
mm,
Haiti 12 times. Like before his death, we had a relationship. You know, but if I had to count on somebody disappointing me, it would be him. Thank God I had my brother. You know,
mm.
he filled in the gaps. But yeah, that
That's
was
wrong.
it. Hmm.
I only ask that because I do kind of like I said, I do see similarities between myself and yourself. I can teach as well. I like to be free. I like to enjoy myself. I'm very independent. Um, I don't like being in sadness too long. I empathize with people very well. Um, but there is a high level of emotional detachment when it comes to things when they're going wrong or
Yeah.
things that may hurt me. Very much like yourself, I'm very quick to forgive. I get over it and I move forward. Um, and if you hurt me, I'll be like, yeah, you hurt me. All right, let's go on it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't dwell in those places for very long.
Yeah.
But I'm also very much aware as well that, like you said, that a lot of it is not necessarily dealing with the emotional um, weight and gravity of how I feel, and that's why I asked earlier on about being free to express yourself, and generally being able to be emotive. But for me, it comes from the letdown. My father's in my life, and he's around still to this day. But the disappointment of not being able to relate in that emotional way is where I felt disappointment. And because of the disappointment, I don't like feeling disappointed, which means I don't also rely on other people very easily because I don't want to feel disappointment again. And how that affects me in relationships is when I get into them, there's a lot of independence. And like you said, there's an expectancy that when something happens, don't dwell on it long. Like, it happened, let's get over it, etc., etc. But then it makes me look like a very cold person because
Right.
while the person's feeling it, I'm like, we still here? Because I don't I don't know. I really don't process the situation. I'm really gone. Like, you still feel it. And then we have a lot of
Right.
those kind of disputes where the person may feel like I'm not with them. I am, but it's just that I just don't feel it the exact same way. But actually reality is I'm not dealing with the fullness of that emotion. So maybe that's what you're describing. That's why I asked
Mhm.
who is the first disappointment, because that is connecting with whatever happens in the future. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
I trust me. I spent a lot of time with myself.
mm,
After I realized that, I spent a lot of time with myself. A lot of time in solitude. Like, I'm a person that I know how to check myself. I know how
mm,
to go back, connect the dots. I don't make no excuses for myself. I'm really a person try to figure it out, okay, what the problem is so I can deal with it and heal from it and move on. I'm not the person to be like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with me. No, no. I'm not that person. I want to know, you know? So yeah, maybe you're right. I it's like once my reality is changing, it's like I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's get over it quick. I'm like that. So,
mm,
well, so yeah.
interesting. Mm. I'll mentally check that note. So, what, James? We
What
got to see him
about?
on the show. We saw James on the show,
Uh huh.
and he came out swinging. Swinging. Um, you guys obviously were together for a while, so that's obviously a big relationship in your life, and you guys have kids together as well. So just break us a little bit of an understanding there, because how did
So,
you meet James? What happened there? You know what I mean?
so
Like,
listen, I always
mhm,
describe that. I always describe that relationship, not even just to be, not to be disrespectful. I always describe that relationship as childhood relationship that went into adult ages. You
that makes
know,
sense.
me and James, we knew each other since middle school. You know what I mean? We have a long history. James was actually one of the first guys that I shared my most intimate secrets with. You know, I told him things like, whoever I have kids with, that's who I want to be with, and he used that to his advantage. He used what I was telling him to his advantage. He came in like he was, you know, he was the sweetest, the calmest guy and things like that. But then he had another side. So James is somebody like, man, it's just I just forgive him easily, until I had to realize certain things. And I'm like, it can't happen like that. Because, sometimes people don't have the best interest for you. Sometimes people don't want to see you happy. And you got to understand that. And just because you have kids, you will want to have a great co parenting relationship with the person you have kids with, but they might want more. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And you being nice to them is not helping them. You gotta kind of learn how to just put your foot down so they can know. Listen, this is what it is, and if you can't do this, then it's nothing. You understand what I mean? So like with James, I always had a soft spot for him because we known each other for so long. We've been through a lot together, and like he said it on the show, like he put me through a lot, and I was innocent. Like it was a lot of stuff I didn't know, but I just look at him like this, James, and I just go about my business. Now with James coming through firing,
mm,
I must say I prepped James very well. I gave him the questions to ask the guys that I needed to know. Because that's
that's
his
fair.
job. That's why he was there. And then the guys were supposed to ask him questions so they could get to know me better. So I had James get in a car. Well, I had one of the producers get in the car with James. That was the no. I shouldn't have done that. Because what she told him to do was opposite from what I told him to do. So now we're walking in. And he said the thing about Dre, but he said it to me. He was like, "That's your dude with the shag." He said that to me. Dre didn't hear him. But when Dre walked up to him, Dre say T-Pain. And that was it. Cause James is a roaster. He's a
Mm,
roaster. He don't know that this is gonna be, edited or things like that. And I'm not making excuses for him. It just went
I
downhill
understand.
from that. Because when Dre said that, he smirked. I was like, oh Lord, and I knew it was over. I knew, but what James wanted to show me was these guys' character. That's what he
Mm,
wanted to show me. They didn't really show the full clip. Of course, they didn't have time. So it was bad for a long time. And I did try to intervene because a lot of people was like, "Oh, you didn't try to stop it. You didn't try to." Anthony told me to. He was like, "Stay out of it." So once he told me stay out of it, I just stayed out of it. I let the guys, deal with it. But I did plenty of times try to intervene, try to turn it around, try to pull him back, But he was like, "Okay, so this is the guy you interested in." So every time you argue with him, he's gonna say, "Oh, you don't know who I am. I was on the Forbes list." They didn't show that part. He thought Anthony was really cool, but he was like, it's still something about Anthony that he cannot put his hands on, you know?
I understand.
So, I don't think his questions was off the wall. I just think the way that they made him seem like he came out firing, it just threw people off. But some of the questions he asked was very valid, and he wanted me to see people character. And I was just taken back because I was like, okay, I didn't think that they would react that way. Like y'all know better. Like get a grip, and but whatever. Hey, it is what it is.
No, and I do get that, with James firing the way he did. And before I even go into the show, James, how long were you and James together for?
Probably like 6 years.
Okay, that's a long time.
6 years. That's when we got back together. It was 6 years. But we dated, and like I said, I knew him since middle school. We dated in high school. We broke up. I went to college. Then we got back together. So if I'm
Mm,
calculating all the years, it's probably like a good 12 years.
okay, that's a long time. That's a
Hmm.
familiar place to be. So I understand that as well. And obviously I know you just said obviously he did a couple of things that were quote unquote bad. But what was the reason for the actual breakup for you? What was the actual reason that was the final stop that you're like, you know what, this ain't it no more?
James,
Mm.
mm, there's a lot of reasons, but the main there's a lot of reasons. Okay, but the main reason was what was going on in the household. But James was a character in himself. He had a lot of things going on that I didn't know.
Mm.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? He had a lot of things going on. Even when I tried to give him another chance, he had a lot of things going on. And
Mm.
um I'm just not there. Like I'm just not, like I had to explain to him like I'm not that girl from back then. Like I'm not gonna sit there and accept certain stuff from you, you know, you lying and stuff like that. It's just, it
Got
is
it.
what it is. You know what I mean? I deserve, my last words to James was like, I deserve to be loved correctly.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like someone that deserved me deserved the love that I have to give, and that's not you. And me, I deserve to be loved correctly. So,
Mm.
you know.
Why did you stay so long then with him? For you, why did you think you stayed so long?
I think okay. So when we got back together, we had the kids. I think it was my kids. Remember, I told you the whole stepdaddy thing. I didn't want
Yes,
that. I
I
didn't
understand.
want that. I didn't want that. Didn't want that. I fought for my family. I did.
Mm.
I fought for him to get it right. And but when a guy is ready, his guy is ready. And also we was young. So, like I try to explain to the younger girls in my family, like you gotta let young guys be. Let them be, let them go figure it out. Don't try to really like hold them down right now because they don't even know who they are. Like just let them be. And I think with him, he wanted me, but he also wanted to do other things too.
I get
So
it.
for me, it was more so for my kids, like just having that. Cause I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't really fond of like having the stepdad, like having
Mm.
my kids around men, you know, like I said, that one significant relationship that I have that wasn't emotional, he's the only one that met my kids.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I don't,
Oh, because that situation was after James then. So that situation
yeah, it
was
was after
okay.
James. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
was for 2 years. It was after James, and he was the only one that met my kids. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't really expose my kids to people. I've dated, but I don't. My kids are my prized possession. They're not rags. Like people don't really get to meet them. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Okay. So obviously then, so the James that we saw on the show, clearly, I get what you mean. He asked them so many questions, and he was tasked to ask the real questions to see where the men genuinely act, and you explain that as well. Um, for you after this scenario where James obviously questioned Andre and Anthony, how did you feel like it went? Because obviously we saw what we saw, but from your perspective, you didn't. You're on the unedited version. But how do you feel like that actual conversation went?
That they was gonna leave me. You heard me. I told them. I said, oh, you gonna make my dudes leave me. That's what I said. I said, booze. I called them booze. He like, oh, they're not gonna leave you. I'm like, hell, I would have left me. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I didn't expect it to go that way. But I know James. I didn't expect it to go that way. But I'm like, I knew once he started, he was not gonna stop. And I was trying to pull him, and I'm like, yo, you didn't. I was so pissed off. I was so pissed off. The producers were happy about it, because it got the guys out of character. Anthony held his own. Anthony did really good. You know what I'm saying? Like Anthony, and that's what I like about Anthony too, is because he's like a male version of me. He got that little street, and he's sophisticated too. So he could meet you where you at. And kind of like calm you down. I just didn't expect it to be so explosive. Listen, they didn't show. Listen, I was drinking everybody drink. I was eating off everybody's plate. I was so nervous. They didn't show any of that. I was just like, oh my God, this is a disaster. I should have got up and left. Maybe that would have just like made everybody come to a halt. But Anthony said they got it, so I trusted that.
Hold on, my alarm is going off. Sorry about that, my alarm was going off for late night gym. So okay, so I mean, did Anthony or Andre after did they voice any discontent about that situation?
I mean, I think it was it was probably some judgment there. Like, a woman like you, what are you doing with a guy like that? And I'm like, well, he's a guy from my environment. Like, I know him for a long time. Like, just because I'm polished and I didn't got myself together and I decide that I want to do better for myself, that doesn't mean everybody wants to do it. Some people stuck in their environment. How many people got uncles still where they at? They don't never want to change. So what that has to do with me? That's like I knew that boy since I was what, 12? So, they voice their opinions or whatever, but it is what it is. Like, I didn't get to see their ex. So, you know what I mean? Let's keep it
I do.
pushing.
I do. Why did the show not? So you didn't get to, because obviously they made you bring your exes, but you didn't see their exes. So was that a little bit odd for you? Like, how did you respond? Because I felt like it was a bit unfair. I don't
Yeah,
understand
that's
why
how I
women are
felt.
doing
That's
that.
why I said, like, the men got to know us, but we didn't get to know them. We didn't really get to know them. We had no insight on who they are, just what they give us. So I guess we're ready to love. Every city they go to, they have, you know, two two seasons. So the first season, the guy bring their girls. Like the first Miami, the guys brought their exes, and us, we had to bring our exes. I'm like, that's not fair. None. Everybody bring their ex. Come on. And for me, I could have brought the guy that I was in a significant relationship with, but I don't have kids with him. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And that's why I didn't bring him. But no, that don't count for anything. I didn't have to bring James on the show. I just brought him because we got kids. I could have brought the other guy, and he would have spoke their language. Period.
I hear that. No, I mean I get that. I think James obviously doing what he did, it definitely brought definitely exposed what people were going to be like, but it inadvertently also exposed him. So whilst actually his behavior exposing them, it inadvertently also exposed him, which also I was wondering how the men kind of dealt with that, because as men we like peace. Well, some of us do. And so that situation surely would have caused a little bit of concern as for the gentleman, and may have also influenced decision making. Now I want to ask a question, obviously, and I'm probably going ahead of myself, because your relationship with Andre, in that moment as well, because when he started talking about Forbes, everything like that, how did you take it and how did you actually process that? Because that was a bit wild for me. I was like, he talking about Forbes and all that stuff, like, but it may have been edited. So I want to know how you process that situation.
So I'm a type of person. I don't like to talk about my accomplishments.
Okay.
because that's not who I am. That's what I accomplished. You
Mm.
know, I'm never gonna throw that out there um as a way to describe who I am, you know. And I do that a lot because I want guys to get to know me. Just like I think a guy would want a woman to get to know you, not what you have, not what you accomplished. So that kind of like threw me for a loop a little bit, you
Mm.
know. And it's funny that you said like, most guys like peace. Like my last relationship that I had, he didn't have to deal with James. So when I said that, you know, you're not gonna have to deal with him, you're not gonna have to deal with him. Anthony asked him, how do you feel about people being around your kids? He had no problem. You know, that was just, I don't know if it was a mixture of definitely what the producer told him to just keep firing questions, get them mad or whatever and stuff like that, get them out of their character. And on top of that, Dre, I don't know. People from Miami, they're different. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to roast them because this is TV. You know, they whole heap of friends and family is watching. You let this dude do this to you on TV. He didn't know they was not going to show that part. He didn't know how it was going to be edited. So he was not going to look like a chump on television. You know what I'm saying? Dre was not going to look like a chump on television. Anthony was
Mm.
not going to look like a chump on television. So everybody egos got in their
No way.
way and did their thing. But for me, it allowed me to see how people are when they lose their cool.
Mm.
So you know,
Mm.
you know.
Okay. I get that. Let's ask a question then. So you're a beautiful woman. You're
Thank
accomplished. You
you.
know what I mean. I'm sure. I know the dating game can be rough a little bit, but what took you on to Ready to Love? Why Ready to Love?
Listen, so Ready to Love is a show that I used to watch, right? And
Mm.
I said to myself, if they come to Miami, I'll probably apply for it if I'm single.
Okay.
When they came, I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. Like, what I look like going on TV to look for love? That was my initial thought. Then it was brought up to me again from somebody else. My sister, matter of fact, she was like, "Go ahead and apply." I always said I would apply, but I'm with this guy now. I can't really apply. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. So I had another friend of mine, three times, third time the charm. She was like, she was talking to me. She was like, big things are coming or whatever. I just looked at her. I'm like, you on that show? You applied for that show? And she told me, yes, she got on. And I said, well, if I knew you was going on it, I would have went because then I wouldn't be alone. And she was like, well, come on, let's just go apply. And I applied. And it wasn't even for this season. It was for the other season. Thank God I wasn't on that other season, but it was for the other season. And that's how that happened. It was not like something that I jumped into to do. Like I hesitated two times before I actually applied for it. I was like, she just said, "What's the worst that can happen?" You know, you find somebody, you don't find somebody, and I was like, "You're right. Let me try it. Let me try it." And I did it. I was shocked. You know,
Mm.
but they called me. I'm like, "Hold up, what?" But listen,
Why that? Uh-huh.
I just think it was meant to be for me to be on this show
Fair
because
play.
it it it, it took three times for me to see it for me to actually
Mm.
apply. I don't
How
believe.
long?
Mhm.
How long were you single before you got onto the show? Then, so how long were you single?
So my last relationship ended. Now I dated. I'm talking about my last relationship. My
Yeah, that's
last
fine.
relationship ended in, I want to say, 2018.
Okay.
That's when my last relationship ended. But I did date here and
Okay.
there.
That's cool. So then obviously you go on to Ready to Love. Um, you know, and you come into the mixer. Um, uh, you know,
Say it,
And I
Coach.
know on the
Say it.
no, you know, I mean, okay. I mean, you mentioned it on the reunion anyway. So you kind of obviously when you came to the reunion, you know, he was a little bit cockeyed, as you said, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, who immediately took your who was eye candy for you straight away? Like, you know, before we get deeper and you was like talking to them and knowing them, when you popped in that room, who was like, you know what I mean? Like, ooh,
Nobody.
okay. Oh,
Nobody.
Slam.
You know why?
Why?
First of all, when I walked into the room, it was quite intimidating because everybody was paired up with somebody.
Okay, you were saying.
You know, so it wasn't like the guys were by themselves or whatever. Everybody, it was a girl and a guy, girl and a guy, girl and a guy. So now I'm looking at in the room. I'm like, oh shoot, they already, you know, found their match or whatever, and then we being thrown into this like it's crazy. So I didn't have anybody that I was like, oh, you know, I know that Andre and Tony approached me,
Okay.
you know, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So okay, that obviously no one takes your fancy straight away. Um, but then okay, so who's your? I know your connections. I think you had a connection with Blake as well, apparently as well. So if
Who
we didn't
said
get to
that?
see it. Personally. I mean, apparently you had a little connection with Blake. How
Who
he
said
buying you
that?
gifts? How he buying you gifts?
Who said that?
Huh?
Who said that?
He ain't buy you no gifts, Cynthia.
Why we talking about
He,
connections that wasn't on the show, that wasn't shown? What are we talking about?
what you mean? What you mean? What you mean? Y'all have a
Okay.
connection or not?
Yeah, we had a
Uh
connection.
huh. Yeah. So talk to us about that connection then. Yeah.
Well, well, I like more serious guys. I like guys that are that know what they want. I know guys. I like. I say no guys. I like guys that I can trust their judgment. I like guys that know how to make decisions. I like guys that's well groomed, smell good, dress nice. I like guys clean cut. You know, I like guys like that. You know, I like to say I think I dress nice and I'm well groomed myself. You know what I mean? And at this age, I like what I like. You know, this distinguished gentleman. You know, hey, Kojo took out. Stop. You gonna make my chest hurt. Oh God. So, you know, I must say, like when I got when I came into this process, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna care what anybody look like. I'm not gonna go by any looks. I'm gonna go straight for conversation and they depth. That's what I'm gonna go for. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. You know,
Fantastic.
that's what I did.
Love that. So what drove you to Blake?
So I so automatically okay, so automatically that day when I came on to the show, the lunch, we had a group date. Blake automatically became like a protector, like, you know, like he a protector and stuff like that. So
Mm.
you know, me and Blake had conversations. Blake was telling me what was going on. I learned a little bit about him, like, you know, he was in the army, blah blah blah, blah blah. He got kids, blah blah. You know, learned the basics about him. And then when we came on to the group date, you know, he basically gave me like a little, you know, told me a little bit, tell about the guys or whatever and stuff like that. And he made it easy for me during that group date. If you realize Blake and Kojo, stop, man, put your glasses back. he if you notice, he made it easy for me. He asked no questions. Did you realize that? Blake asked no questions during that group date.
Mm. Didn't notice
Really?
that.
No, he didn't. He didn't ask any questions. Him and Blue, they were pretty quiet. They were trying to protect me, you know, from the guys. You know,
Mm.
I don't know. Me and Blake, we just hit it off. We talked, we talked. What? Go just say it. What is it? What do you want
I
to
mean,
say?
you not saying it. That's what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure out
What
why
you
you not
want me
saying
to
it.
say?
I don't just be buying people bracelets and gifts. I'm just wondering what kind of connection you kind of had. That's you the one that's fumbling here. I'm not fumbling. Girl, you was like, so I'm like, why you and just tell the truth? Why
Well,
would you
Blake
like?
brought me the gift later. He brought the gift later. He brought the gift after the whole situation happened, with an individual on the show, when the individual basically said that, he had already picked her and wanted to go off the show. So he brought me a bracelet to just show who his connections were. You know,
Mm,
that's a little bit further into the season,
okay.
you know.
Okay. I mean, it makes a bit more sense now.
What
Okay,
makes
because I
sense?
was, and something's coming to mind. What you just kind of said, you didn't say it all the way, but you kind of hinted at it, and it made sense because, you know, there was a post release on, I think it was Ready to Love Five's Insta page, and Jeffrey was talking about how she posted a post about Blake telling her about all the men, and you kind of hinted at the same thing. So he's doing what he does best, which is his skill is foreign intelligence. Okay, that brother was gathering intelligence and feeding. Okay, that's what he does best, and I'm not mad at him, but the reality is that's what he was doing. So yeah. So I'm assuming that this was a two-way street. There was
No,
information exchanged to help each
no,
other, maybe.
no,
Maybe that's why there was a gift given.
no, 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 no.
No?
Mm-mm.
So the gift, were you surprised that he got you a gift?
Yes, I was. I
Mm.
was surprised.
And what did he say to you when he gave you the gift?
What did he say?
Mm.
Coach Joe, you being messy. What did Blake say?
Mm-mm.
He presented it. I don't remember. Like I'm sorry, Blake. I don't remember.
Convenient amnesia?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Like it was something in the lines of, like he wanted me to know that I was one of his connections. You know, it was in the line of that, something like that. You know, what do you want to say? Really?
I didn't even know there was anything deep in this. I really was asking. I assumed that you had a connection with Blake. That was all. But the way you making it sound as if there was something deeper, I'm like, I just wanted to know what the connection was with Blake.
No, I had three connections on the show. I had three
Okay.
connections. Yeah, I
And
had
three
three.
connections: Blake, Andre, and Anthony.
Anthony.
Those are three connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I was asking about the connection with Anthony, with Blake, because I just wanted to know, what kind of connection you guys had, and if there was, you know, why. Okay, so why didn't it go any further for you then? Why didn't this connection with Blake go any further?
I wish not to disclose.
Okay, I'll honor your response.
You know, yeah. I
Okay,
mean, I think I'll say this. I think when me and Anthony connected, it made a lot of people uncomfortable.
makes sense.
Mhm.
We'll talk after. All right, cool. So, so obviously, you obviously had two other connections. So
Mhm.
you had two other connections. Your connections with Anthony and Andre. I want to ask a question about Andre and Anthony. Uh, why Andre? What was Andre? I don't want to say doing, or what was he? Who was he? But why the connection with Andre? What drew you to Andre?
I think with Dre it was definitely his personality. Dre has he's fun. You remember, like I tell you, I like to be happy. He's a happy person. He loved to be happy, and a lot of people made our first date seem so sentimental because I shared what I shared, but that was an assignment. So it's like whoever I would on that date with, they would have gotten that
That
because
um
that was an assignment. You know what I mean? Um, Me and Dre also talked about a lot of things that was beyond the surface. You know,
mm,
like I got to know a lot about his upbringing. He got to know about mine and things like that. But it was still, I'm sorry to say, it was still a surface connection because I was trying to get to know him. He was trying to get to know me. We still had some interest in each other, you know, but it was still a surface connection. You know, I kind of hate the way that they, kept it going the way that it kept it going because it was really, 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 really surface,
mm.
you know.
So you and obviously Andre, obviously he had two connections. So he had himself and Jeffrey.
Hmm.
How did you feel about the fact that he had another connection though? Because and that connection being Jeffrey, because we heard your I guess they were the pod comments or whatever, and towards the end, you kind of let us know how you felt about the Jeffrey aspect. So
Well, let me say this. Towards the end, me and Dre had like a friendship
okay,
because towards the end, everybody know I was picking Anthony. Everybody knew
okay,
Anthony was my connection. You know,
oh,
Dre wanted to fight a little bit, but everybody knew Anthony was my connection. See, they didn't show that part. So based on, certain things, he was sharing with me, I was just asking him if he was sure. You know what I mean? It was a protective um standpoint. But when they edited, they made it seem like I was asking about me and him. I wasn't. I didn't care about any of my connections, other connections, to be quite honest. And they can say it. I never asked them questions about it. I let them do their thing, figure it out, whatever. If you're for me, you're for me. I live by that. If it was meant to be, it's meant to be. But I just felt that you know, I just didn't understand what Dre was doing. I want to leave it like that. I didn't understand what he was doing. I didn't really understand what he was doing. He couldn't pick me because I wasn't available for him to pick. Even though they wanted to edit it the way that they wanted to edit it, that's fine.
mm,
He couldn't pick me. I wasn't available to pick. So when I was talking to Dre, I was talking to Dre from a standpoint where, like even at the table with his sister, I was like, Dre got a big heart, and I keep telling him, stop letting people pull on your heartstring. You know, when you keep showing you got a big heart, people going to use that. They're going to use that to get close to you, and you got to be careful. You can't let people pull on your heartstrings. You know what I mean? It came from
mm,
a protective side. Like I don't feel any way about his other connection. It's just at that point I cared more so about him.
mm,
You know what I mean? Not like, oh, for us to be together, just like as an individual, like what you doing, man?
mm.
So,
I mean, what? So he had doubts before he started. Is that what he had
oh,
doubts towards
I
him?
can't. I can't. I don't know. I just know that I was being a friend, and I was telling him, don't let people pull on your heartstrings.
All
You
right,
don't. Don't let people pull on your heartstrings. Yeah.
all right, cool. Um, so obviously, so the comment that was made about the Jeff situation was in regards to the fact that you had a friendship with him, and you were just trying to help him out, basically. So, which you just wanted him
Which
to know.
part? Which comment are you talking about?
There's a comment where I don't know exactly what you said. You basically said you're this and she is this. So you made a comparison between yourself and
Okay.
Jeffrey.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna be honest. Now that the show is over, I
Please.
can't really get sued or whatever. That was right before the reunion. The show was over, and they wanted to just bridge the gap. you know, and for their show, like, like I said what I said. It was mean, I said what I said. It was mean, but at that point in time, like, it was too late for them to ask me a question. Like, I didn't care. Like, it was.
Hmm.
Listen, everybody knew who my connection was. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. This answer's not given what it needs to give.
What it needs
I'm
to
not sure I
give.
understand.
What
I'm
I'm
not sure I
saying to you,
understand.
what I'm
Go
saying to
on,
you, what I'm saying to you is this:
please. Yes.
that those confessions was done before the reunion. The show was already done filming like 3 months. You know what I mean? So they asking me things that I don't care about, and I'm like, like,
But that wasn't on the reunion. That comment I'm talking about wasn't for the reunion. Played when you guys are sitting in is it a coffee shop or whatever, and when he comes and lets you know that obviously you got another chance to stay, then it plays a clip, and I'm sure that clip obviously wasn't from the reunion because the reunion is shot
no, it was.
not at that
It
time.
was the
Was it
day
shot with the reunion?
before. It
Okay,
was the day before. If you look at my hair, I had the same hairstyle as the reunion.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that comments was the questions were asked what at the reunion, and then that was played
No,
back.
no, 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 no. The day before the reunion. The question was asked the day before the reunion.
Oh,
I was
okay.
done with the show. The show was done filming like 3 months already.
Mm,
Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? So when they asked me the
okay.
question, I just said that. Like, I didn't feel no type of way about. I was done with that. Like, y'all wait 3 months, and I was kind of really pissed off because they made me leave my hair appointment early. So at the end of the day, like, they asked me a question, I didn't really care. If you looked at if you looked at those confessions versus the other confessions, you could have probably tell that I was irritated as hell. To be quite honest, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care. I don't
No,
care.
I get the fact.
You know
I
what
get
I'm
the fact you
saying?
don't
I
care.
don't care. But I did say it. I did say it. I did make
I
that
get that you
clear.
don't care. So why did the bullet go towards Jeffrey? That's what I'm asking.
Because
If
that's what the producers needed me to say for to bridge the gap in the story.
okay, so you didn't mean what you said then? Would you say you didn't mean it?
No, no.
You didn't mean it at all. You just said it because you just didn't care.
I don't know. I didn't mean that. Do I feel like me in I don't compare myself to other women. You know what I mean? And you guys watching from the outside, you probably don't really know. Only the people that gone through the process really understand how it goes. And sometimes when they need you to fill in the gap, they want to tell you to say certain things. Now you can opt out not to say it, you know. You could choose not to say it. At that point in time, I just choose to say it. It's
All
not
right.
giving what you needed to give. Because
No, no, I'm not saying that it's not. I believe you're telling the truth. I'm just saying they ask leading questions, right? So they're gonna ask you, da da da, Jeffrey, da da da. But and I get that you didn't care, but the bullet went to Jeffrey, which means there would have
No,
been
it
some more.
wasn't a
Like,
leading question. It was, you can say this. It wasn't a leading question. It was like, you can
okay,
say this. And that's what I said. Cause I wasn't think I didn't want to think at that moment, like, I don't care about this. Some of the questions they even asked me during that, I don't even remember. We filmed 3 months ago. You understand what I mean? It
hmm.
wasn't a leading question at that point. You can say this. Okay, I'm gonna say this.
So why did that? My thing is, even if you didn't care, what, like if they said say this about Anthony, would you have said it?
No. Cause
That's
they
my
asked
point. So
me. So you're telling me to think about somebody that I don't care about.
that's the point. No, that's where I wanted to get
And
to.
that's what
That's
I'm
what I
telling you.
mean.
I told you I don't care for her. I don't care for her. That's what I've been trying to say. So
Okay.
you want me to put in thought about somebody that I don't care about. I don't have nothing to say. What do you have? What should I say? Oh, say this. Okay, I'm going to say it. But when they told me, oh, they didn't even use that clip when they tried to make me compare Anthony and Andre. They didn't even use that because I'm like, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that, you know, because I care for those particular individuals. And that's what I mean, you know?
Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. That
Okay,
part makes
I'm
sense.
sorry. I
Yeah.
should have just. I thought I was clear from the beginning, so maybe I wasn't. So
No,
yeah,
I get it now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. Um, so obviously the situation with Anthony obviously was also a connection that you guys had, right?
Hmm.
And you know, you came around the corner and you said a few things about him,
Ooh.
some positive things about him.
Hmm.
So I
I
want to
can see it
know
now.
what is it?
I can see it now.
You can see it. Hmm.
I can see.
So, what was it about Anthony that drew you to Anthony?
I think with Anthony, had once we had that conversation on the boat, and we learned so much about each other. We had so much things in common. It made me automatically like gravitate towards him more. We came from the same neighborhood. Um, we both have children. We both highly active in our children life. We're both ambitious. He had all the little characteristics that I like. And Anthony is real calm with it too. He's not really like he's not boastful or anything like that. And you know, when Anthony came around the corner, me and Anthony was actually on the phone all day. But this is how much we don't talk about our dates and things like that. I didn't know he had it. Did I know he had a date? I don't know if we knew each other had a date. But when I just knew I had to make it to this date. So when he came around the corner, I was just so happy because we was on the phone the whole day, you know. And with Anthony, everything is like easy, is nothing forced. And I just like that I could be myself. Anthony, I like to describe us like Anthony is like cool, laid back. I'm like the wild child.
Okay, no, I get that. I get that.
Mhm.
So, Anthony as the cool, calm, collected individual. You guys had connection. The show, the way it portrayed it, in a sense, it took a long while for seemingly for things to kind of heat up. Was it that same way on the show, or was it more of an instant connection for you guys? Because it looked a bit like it was a slow burner.
I think No, I think from the boat the next morning, I
Mm.
text Anthony, and it was every morning, every night, every afternoon. We talked every day, every single day. So no. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
That's what the
Cool.
show wanted to show. But we had our own show.
I mean, you had your own show. How did that, what do you mean?
I mean, we was talking every day, every night. We had our
I didn't mean like that. I realized the tone when I kind of said it, but what I meant was like, yeah. Okay, so obviously you guys had your own little connection, etc. Obviously, he had a connection with Mercedes as well. So,
Mhm.
were you two each other's first, like number one, or was it something that you guys kind of drifted towards a bit later on in the show as well? Because I know you guys had a connection, but he had a, for us as an audience.
Ah,
Let me tell you what we saw, because
uh-huh.
the show put it this way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mercedes was a strong connection, a
Yeah,
strong one there.
I believe
You
that.
understand?
I believe that. I believe that.
Mm,
I also believe Sue was also a strong connection. That's why I can't even say that I was his top. Like
mm,
Anthony would have to answer that question. I came a connection after those two ladies. So I don't know, like I don't really know. I just know it was a point where I knew Anthony was my top, but they didn't even show a lot of that clip when we all went to the farm, and we did the optical course and things like that. I knew from like that moment, like he was like my top.
that was the
And then we
one.
had a conversation. That's so crazy. Like we had a conversation about it, and I told him I know who my top was. I told him that, but I didn't tell him it was him. He was still
Mm,
trying to figure it out. He's a calculated man.
yeah.
They say I'm calculated, but he's real calculated man. You know,
So you knew from early that it was him, and the shows kind of portrayed it to be
Dre.
Dre.
Mhm. If I don't know if you realize it on the show, Anthony was the only person I called my husband. You know, I never said that about anybody
Trey.
else.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
so it is what it is.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I find that intriguing because I guess maybe this is more the friendship that you guys had in the getaway. There's
Mm-hmm.
a one or two scenes where Andre would run out with you and you'd be holding your hand or whatever, whatever. And I was
Come
like,
on,
wait,
Coco. Come on, come on,
no, I've
come
got to
on.
be real. I've got to ask those questions. What do you want me to do?
Okay.
I've got to ask those questions.
He no, ask me all the questions. He ran out and he was holding my hand. You said,
Yeah.
and then is that when we went on the little swings?
I don't think that was even the swings. I think it was I saw it once or twice. I think it was maybe twice I saw it. So it could be different occasions. So
We
I just
had the
saw
same
holding
clothes on.
hands. Maybe. I'm not sure. I just remember you holding
Okay.
hands. So, you know, that's why I was like,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
guess
I
I'm
held
still.
his hand. I held his hand, but I also
Mm,
told him we spoke while we were on the swings, and that's when he said, "Let the best man win." He said that.
mm.
I had already told him what I needed to tell him, but he still was like, "Let the best man win."
So Andre wasn't. So Andre was still chasing, even though you told him. Well, did you actually let Andre know that it was definitely
Yeah,
Anthony? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And he said,
So he knew
"Why,
that
why,
already.
why do
Okay.
I feel like you going in a direction you telling me no?" I said, "Cause I am." And he was like, "Let the best man win." Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I know
All
it's
right.
confusing. I know it's
Yeah.
confusing because it's like they don't show me and Anthony a lot because I don't know what their objective was. They didn't show me and him a lot, and it's like they were going for like showing me and Drake connection, but me and Anthony connection was so much deeper than
Mm.
Drake and I connection. But I don't know what they were. It kind of made me irritated some days. So
Because obviously you met his sister and everything, and then had to do your, do you know what I mean, those kind of dates. How was that like for you then as well? Then because obviously, you had to,
I had to show up,
yeah.
and I showed up. Like I showed up. You know, it was so. Well, I don't even think I could disclose this, but listen, I showed up. You know,
Hmm.
you know, so I I showed up.
So the connection was nowhere near as deep with Dre at all.
Like Anthony's.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I care for
Okay.
Dre. I do care for Dre, but it wasn't.
I do believe. I do believe that. Hmm.
Yeah, I care for Dre, but it wasn't as deep.
Mm.
No. Did it look that deep? Nah, you
I
gotta
mean,
tell
we
me.
we were all questioning what the heck where you was going.
Oh,
We was questioning where you was going, sis, because when we saw you, every time we'd see you, Dre said he feels you. The way they cut it sounded like, you were feeling him. You know what I mean? You was able to be emotional and open up to him, and yada yada. I mean, the way they put it across, I'm just gonna say it. You know,
yeah.
it
I
did
saw
seem
what you
like it
saw.
was some. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what it looked like to us, but. Yeah, if you're saying it wasn't that deep, I mean, I know you guys weren't as deep talking as you and Anthony, and
Mhm.
I did a video about it, so I understand. But yeah, that's the way the show kind of portrayed it a little bit, So, but
Mhm.
if you're saying it's not deep, it's not deep.
Yeah. What was that?
Mm.
I
Okay,
care about
so
Dre,
go,
but
yeah, go on.
I said I care about Dre, but it wasn't that deep.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so Anthony is the one that you were definitely sought on and definitely hot on. And what finally made you guys, I guess, choose each other at the end?
I choose Anthony a long time ago. Even when I did the
Mm,
candle exchange, I choose Anthony. Um, like I said, like he was consistent. He was intentional with me. First person I hear from in the morning, last person I talk to at night. Like it was consistent from the time we met. So I always knew it was Anthony for me. I just never knew if it was me for Anthony. But I didn't let that bother me because, again, it's a process. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm. And then we see you guys on the reunion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got a lot of smoke from us, including
Yeah.
myself.
Okay.
I had bullets,
You have
and the chamber
bullets?
was full. The chamber was full, and I
Oh,
emptied every single bullet.
oh, you
I like
empty the clip?
I had the clip, baby.
Oh, I'm
I
dead
let
then.
loose.
I'm dead.
Semi-automatic.
Oh,
Skidded
I'm
it.
dead. No chance of surviving.
No surviving. Nah, I mean, from your perspective, like how did the reunion go for you? Because I'll tell you what was said for us. How do you feel the
so,
reunion went for you?
I must say, like, I didn't even know that I was that far away from Anthony. I know I turned my back, and in my mind, I didn't even know he was sitting straight forward like that either. I thought he was like a little tilt my way because I could hear him so close. But me sitting that way wasn't to disrespect Anthony. Like, I respect Anthony as the
Mm,
man that he is. It was for me to not get emotional. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna go look at Anthony and say what I need to say. I'm never gonna get it out. And I wanted to come into the reunion strong. I wanted to say what I needed to say. I wanted to take accountability for what I needed to say, and certain things that transpired. And the only way that I can do that is sitting, not facing him. You know what I mean? Had I would have been like on another couch or whatever, yeah, I probably could have looked at him. Maybe not. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know. Listen, the way that I sat was the best way that I could sit. It was not to disrespect him or anything like that. Like, Anthony is a great guy. Like, we have a great friendship, because I know that's going to be the question. We have a great friendship. Me and Anthony is not together. We believe that foundation is key. In any and everything, because when you don't have the foundation, it get rocky. You know what I mean? And everybody don't realize that this show is filmed in 6 weeks.
mm,
you know as they play it took 4 months, but it's 6 weeks, and in 6 weeks you really don't know somebody. He don't know me, I don't know him. We just know that we like each other enough to continue. But as you continue after the fact, you learn certain things about each other.
of
You may
course.
be okay with it, you may not be okay with it, you may be able to work through it, you may not. I just know in an instant, like, it take two committed people to do things. And the fact that, me and him, we're still good, and we're working on building our friendship and building a solid foundation. I just got to leave it where it's at. Like, whatever is meant to be will be. It is what it is. But I don't think the audience understand that this was 6 weeks.
Mm.
you know
So okay, so that the couch scene is where you got the most smoke. Let's be honest. I'll be honest with you. That's
yeah,
where the
they could give
smoke
me all the smoke.
came. You know, and because obviously, like I said, we saw that clip, and your back was to him, and you've obviously said obviously because you didn't want to get
Emotional.
emotional in a sense. What would you have been getting emotional about per se, just so that we can
The fact
understand where
that
you're
me
coming
and
from?
him is not together. The fact
Mm,
that me and him can't work through our problems. That's what I was going to get emotional about. And the fact that, I let my emotional detachment carry on to him. I shouldn't have. But
bro.
it was with him that I realized that I was really like that.
Mm, okay.
Because I think in a sense, like, I had to really care for somebody to
Hmm.
really notice that, damn, they're expressing certain things to me and I just don't get it. Like, I just don't get it. Like, this is important to him, I should get it. Like, his emotions should be important to me, enough for me to sit my butt down, not trying to push things over, and really get it. And I couldn't. I realized it a little late.
Mm. So was that the source of the contention in terms of why you guys kind of slowed things down? Is that the
Yeah.
source of contention
Yeah.
when you said, because when you said obviously you weren't handling him properly,
That's
just
what I meant.
expand for that. Is that what you
That's
meant
what
by
I
that? Okay.
meant. Yeah, I didn't treat Anthony bad. No, I didn't treat Anthony bad, and and I'll let Anthony speak for himself. I didn't treat him bad. It's just the fact that I couldn't recognize when he was expressing certain things to me, which was very important. I just couldn't. I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't see it, and it's because, like I said, my reality was changing, and I didn't want to face that. It was changing. And
Mm,
yeah, so that's what it was. It's not that, you know, I don't know what the public took, but I don't really care about what they took it as.
mm.
I'm the source. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, and I get that. I think I do understand what you're saying in terms of emotional attachment and how that plays a role
Yeah.
in the
So
relationship. And I spoke about that. So yeah, go
yeah,
for
and
it.
a lot of people's like, oh, if you was like that, why you came on the show? Shit, it's a lot of things we don't know about ourselves.
Hmm.
It's a lot of things like it takes for you to genuinely find someone that you really care about, you know, for you to discover so many things about you and that you want to be great, not only for yourself, but for that person as well. You know what I mean? Because as you can see, like we were sitting on the couch, we wasn't bickering at each other, we wasn't
Yeah.
fighting each other. I wish they would have just played the whole scene instead of chopping it up like that. To see
Mm,
how we was really supporting each other on that couch. I didn't oppose anything. He didn't oppose anything. We was really there. We was really supporting each other. And that's love right there. That's people that care about each other. So, you know, I don't know what they was watching.
no, and no, I think. Oh, I don't know. Actually, I can only go by what review and my audience as well, because I know there's a lot of people here don't necessarily watch
Mhm,
me, but are
mhm.
here for you. So, but I think watching it with yourself on the sofa. Um,
I wish I didn't turn my back like that. I wish I would have scooped my butt a little bit. I didn't know we was so far apart. I wish I would have did that. I wish.
no,
No, I do. I wish.
no.
What?
Why?
Because I didn't. We wasn't beefing for me to be so far away. I looked at it like we wasn't beefing for me to be so far away. I think it made things look a little worse, than what they actually. Some people say, I hear what she's saying, but her body language. You don't even know me. You don't even know me. You don't even know me. All you've been doing this whole season is hearing what I've been saying. And now you want to tell me my body language here and there. You don't even know me. I'm telling you what it is. You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
you know, for me, like looking at it, I was like, dang, I didn't even know, I was that far, far
And I think
apart.
that's why I said that no, I didn't want you to change it, because the reality of it is how you felt is how you sat. Not that you were trying to be intentionally disrespectful to him, and that's not how I reviewed it. How I
Yeah.
reviewed it was that there's an aspect of shame, there's an aspect of pain there, there's an
Hmm.
aspect of distance between you two, because generally that's what it is. So when
Yeah.
you sat that way, the reason why there was so much gap is because emotionally there is a detachment there too. So because naturally, if I'm sitting with someone and even if I don't want to, necessarily look at them, I'm going to be almost feeling for them to make sure they're kind of close there. But
Hmm.
if I'm emotionally detached, it comes out, and I talk about this on my channel a lot. We call it emotional leakage. So what
Okay.
you showed us was emotional leakage. That's how
Hmm.
you were feeling in that moment. It's, I don't want to be too close to you. You know what I mean? And it's not because you're disrespectful. Like, you're trying to be disrespectful. It wasn't you trying to hurt him or anything, but it really was an indication of the mindset of how you're actually feeling. And that's
Hmm.
why it was so much gap between yourself and Anthony, because part of that looks like it represents how you felt in that relationship. So that's what was said on my end. I don't know how the other internet part people say, but that's what was said on my end when we're saying about having smoke for you. It's like the reality is you became hard. You became hard in that situation. So
Hmm.
that was represented by the couch situation. So you know that's what I would say. I think what we need also maybe to understand from your perspective is there specifics, and you don't have to go into specifics in terms of telling us exactly what happened. We're saying, is there a specific moment where there is something that happened as to why you didn't handle him correctly, or is this a general overview of the course of that relationship where beforehand you guys said we're slowing it down?
No. when we just start having challenges, I just, like I said, like, I'm genuinely a happy person. And when he couldn't just let things go as quick as I needed him to let things go,
I hear
it
that.
just, I couldn't understand why. And me not understanding why, it was me not listening to his whys. You know what I mean? It's just me like trying to brush it off. Cause if you look at that scene, after me and him spoke, after we said what we said, he walked up to me, we hugged, and on the next scene, we sitting right next to each other, like, because that was something that needed to be said. That was something that he needed to hear. Like, he needed to hear me take accountability for not being able to recognize his emotions. And I know
Mm.
that took a lot for him to even like be emotional, because like you mentioned, like, men don't express that. And the crazy thing about that is like, I'm the sister, I'm the cousin that the males in my family come to when they're feeling emotional. They tell me their most deepest feelings. And the fact that I couldn't, you know, show up for him, that bothered me. That showed me that it wasn't that I have a disconnect in itself with all men, because the men in my family, I don't. It just have I just had the disconnection with men that I was involved with, and then so like I said, I'm a big girl. I sit with myself, I analyze stuff, and I think about it. And I'm like, okay, so why can I do this? And I'm so protective about them, and why wasn't I like that about him? And I realized it was a defense mechanism that I've been doing for a long time, and that's what I needed to pay attention to, and that's what I needed to work on. So.
Mm. Can I
Yeah,
offer
I'm not
something?
gonna keep coming on your channel because I see you go, Cynthia. Can we have another live? Can we talk? Go ahead, tell me.
Listen, you know me. I will definitely have one with you if you want to come on, or we can have it behind the scenes. I don't mind. Either way works for me. But and I'm going to offer something, and this is me. This is me offering something, and I want you to
Okay,
say yes or no and explain why. Okay, I want to
okay,
offer something,
okay.
and this is no indictment on anybody. So this is what
Mhm,
I'm going to offer. When I was talking about your about the situation, I was explaining to my audience that I could see this was going to happen, right?
mhm,
Because I termed it the quote unquote orphan spirit. This is in the sense of when the orphan gets into a safe environment, they struggle to be able to feel comfortable because they're used to a certain level of dysfunction. They need things to be happening. When it's not things happening, it's unsafe. It feels unsafe because it's like,
okay.
well, then this is not my normal familiarity. And this is what you said earlier on. You said you're used to familiarity. So coming into a space where there isn't that kind of energy can be a little bit disorientating, right?
Mhm,
And my when I was hearing you speak, what I was hearing was, and this you can correct me. So I'm
mhm,
opening up so you can correct me.
mhm.
What I was really hearing is that it was too safe. The environment was too safe. Meaning it was too calm, right? And then also, I feel like, and again, you can correct me. I feel like had he been had he been more, uh, if he had been more dissuading about your emotions, if he had been more like, I don't really care as much about your emotions, I think you would have not had to think about his emotions. And I'm gonna say something, and I don't want to be disrespectful because it goes sound disrespectful, but it'd be real. I talk about this sometimes. Us as men, those of us who
Mhm.
have grown up in a particular way, especially if we've grown around women, and especially if we haven't got strong male influences. I speak about this about myself as well. Sometimes we're in a position of receiving rather than giving. So even though we're very emotionally intelligent, we're often in the position of receiving rather than giving, which scares some women who have been in situations where they've not been protected before. So whilst they may be emotionally intelligent and people can see that, they're wanting to receive becomes difficult for the other person to be in because it's actually not safe. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I'm not.
Okay, let me break it. Let me say it. Okay. I think because I'm trying not to be rude. Yeah. Let me say it. Okay. Um, from my perspective, and I'll talk with Anthony about this, right? So there's a okay. So when we talk about being in relationships, right? Especially as men, where you want a man to be in most people's cases, right? Where you want a man to be in, you want him to be in a position where he is in the place of giving, right? The giving aspect of him is that he doesn't allow himself to always be in a position of wanting to receive from you emotionally, right?
Okay.
So when you're always in a position of wanting to receive emotionally, it's because the person is wounded. When they're wounded, they need constant attention, affirmation, emotional attention, they need a lot of energy coming their way. And what can happen is, even though they're emotionally intelligent, they're actually drawing from you rather than giving to you. And if you've come from a background where you're very independent, you've had to fend for yourself, all that kind of stuff, you will start giving, but you'll start feeling frustrated because actually you're giving too much and not receiving. So even though it's a safe environment, because the person's not rude, they're not disrespectful, they're not angry, they're not this, it's lovely, but actually what you're feeling is a pull. And so this is where I'll say in relationships, sometimes women will end up going for quote unquote the bad guy, because the bad guy will be like, I don't need you to feed me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna feed you in an emotional sense.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's why I kind of felt with this, what you were saying, and almost kind of talking about, but not really saying it in a full sense with the relationship with you and Anthony. But again, I could be wrong. So I was just
No,
saying
I
that's what I
think
kind of
I
felt.
think I think it was just us not really knowing each other and not having that foundation to and really have taken the time to understand and learn each other. And because it takes time. People got to teach you how to love them. you know I have my way of being loved, he have his way of being loved. And most men like for women to listen to them, for their women to listen to them. And I think in that instinct, I was not listening because what he was saying was going against what I was feeling. And I didn't want to
Mm,
deal with what he was saying because it was not what I was feeling. And what he was saying was changing my reality, and I didn't want it to change. So it was like a bit of avoidance, and that's disrespectful. I didn't handle him correctly by doing that. It wasn't about me. But since I'm always fighting for me, I was fighting for my reality. I didn't want to see his reality, and because I didn't want to see his reality, it showed that I didn't care about his reality. And in actuality, I care for him. So if I care for him, I have to care about his reality, even though his reality don't look like mine. I have to I have to be attentive and see why his reality is looking like that. And I was not putting in the time to figure out why his reality looked like that. I think um, you know, what you were saying, that can happen, but in this case that wasn't
it
it.
wasn't okay.
It wasn't it. Yes, men are used to being a provider. I've been by myself for a long time, so sometimes when women are independent, it's hard for them to let go. But I didn't have that problem with Anthony,
Okay.
and I don't think Anthony had that problem with me. We was just like, so maybe it was me that was so la 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 la. So when things started like not being la 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 la, I'm like, no 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 no, I want to go la 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 la. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. But I had to stop and pay attention because that's also important. You know what I mean? That's going to continue to let me go frolicking and be happy and skipping around and stuff like that. But it's like I didn't want to deal with it because like if dealing with it would have messed up my reality. So
I get what you're
that's
saying.
where I felt like, things got messed up, and that's why I took accountability, between Anthony and I.
And did you suggest him to slow it down? Or did he suggest it?
I think it was a mutual thing.
Okay.
I think it was a mutual thing for us. You know, I think the reason why it was best because it could have probably ended bad. Like we probably wouldn't talk to each other. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think it was a mature thing to do was to slow it down. Cause look at us now. You know. So yeah.
When you say look at us now, okay, where are you now
I
from
mean,
that point?
we're good. You know, we're good. We're at a great place. We're building our friendship and stuff like that. He could have been somebody I don't talk to. Listen, like I know how to do that. Like never talk to somebody again. He could have been somebody I never talked to again. I could have been somebody. I'm pretty sure Anthony could do the same thing. I could have been somebody he never talked to again. But the fact that we was mature
Mm.
and we was able to do that, it allowed us to have our own space because we don't have to have the same process as everybody else,
I hear
you
you
know,
saying.
and we don't know what the future may hold. But right now, I just listen. For me, I just want to stop fighting. I just want to stop fighting and just let whatever's supposed to happen happen. Stop always trying to control things and stuff. Just let whatever's supposed to happen happen. If it's meant to be, let it be,
Me.
you know. But I don't want people to watch the show don't think people come on this show and things not real. It is for some of us. Some people they may be here for the wrong reasons, but you know some people, you know, we do find if we don't find the love of our lives, we find relationships that helps build us, makes us recognize things within us that we need to work on and things like that. And I believe, like for me, like with my cast members, I believe I'll be friends with them for the long haul. You know what I mean? Like we went through something together that nobody else will understand, you know. And I know as much as, you know, people, you know, in the audience go back and forth between different castmates and things like that. Like, I really don't have no problem with nobody. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see everybody do well. I want everybody to meet their person and things like that. And this show, you can really find your person. But what if this was a destination for you to stop and find
Mm.
yourself?
That's
You know
fair.
what I'm saying? You got to embrace that too. You can't just want people to just jump jump shift. You gotta allow people to go through their process, especially after the show, because y'all reckless.
Mm.
Listen, the audience is reckless. I see why Beyonce don't say nothing. Hey, listen, no, they are reckless. They are reckless. It's like it's happening to them, but they don't know the half of what happens in this process. It's
That's
not
fair.
easy to put yourself out there. It's not easy to even me being being on this interview with you today. I share a lot with you. You know, I shared a lot. You know, it's not that it was anyone's business, but I just choose to be open because I feel like my journey will help other people. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And it'll help people to dig deeper, because sometimes we the problem. It's not always the other person, it be us. You know, we be holding on to a lot of stuff, we go through a lot of stuff, we be thinking we okay, we're able to, you know, make it, dress it up. Like I tell people, hey, it's a lot of people out here that's they're like a beautiful present, you know, wrapped up nice bow, and when you open it up, it's mm-mm. It ain't no good on the inside. Some of them need a little time. Some of them need a lot of love. You know, you gotta be able to differentiate and do whatever you need to do in order to make sure that you are good. You as a person are good because you want to be good for your person, you know? And most importantly, yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I do understand it, and I know it's not easy being on a reality TV show, and having everybody critique your behavior or what they see on the screen. So I'm not mad at that. I definitely understand that process as well. So it's not easy at all. Final thoughts then. So for you, what is the greatest learn you'll take from Ready to Love?
Oh, I want to say, let me see, my greatest learn. I was able to see me.
Mm.
You know how I was talking to Marcia today, and I told her, you know, watching me come out that during that lunch, I was like, wow, oh, ooh. I'm like, that's what they be seeing. It was me able to step out of myself and see me, to see the way that I carried on, the conversations that I've had, how supportive that I am. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a beautiful person. We can say that we deserve a lot of things, but I got to see myself from the audience standpoint. And yes, I deserve to be loved correctly. I'm a wonderful person. I'm a wonderful person, and that's what I took away from it. I took away this experience was really for me, to see that little girl that always been fighting. Look at you. It birthed something very beautiful, and I love that. So that was my
Love that.
takeaway. Hmm.
Love that. Anything that any projects, upcoming projects, or any kind of events, or anything that you're doing that you would love us to get behind and support you with as well?
Not at this time. I think I'm disconnecting. My birthday was this weekend. I've been disconnecting all
Hey,
weekend. And I think I kind of want to continue to disconnect because it was a lot.
I
You
agree.
guys watched it. We lived it twice. We had to
Twice.
film it, and then we had to watch it with the audience, and that's when all the so thank God my experience was light. The people do love me. I got a lot of you emptied the clip out on me. You emptied out the clip. Um, thank you for letting me know. I didn't have to hear it from anywhere else that you emptied the clip out on me. But I just want to disconnect maybe a month or so. But if I do have any projects, I'll let you guys know. I'll let
Mm.
you guys know.
No, I appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, when I say empty the clip, my clip is not smoke, as in just saying I don't like people. My clip is about behavior. So whenever I empty the clip, it's never about, oh, I don't like you. Or, no, no, no. We
No,
don't do
no,
that
no.
around here.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's always
That's
about
good.
behavior. So yeah,
That's
so
good.
nothing to fear there. But yeah, listen, look, first of all, happy belated birthday. I know I
Thank
missed it.
you.
And I'm sure some other people will get you a gift, not me, because I keep my pockets tight. But but no, we really do appreciate you coming on here, and just sharing your heart and being transparent and letting us know some of your thoughts, as well about the show and what your experience was as well. And so we do honestly appreciate, um, we do really appreciate you sharing some of that. So thank you again once more.
Thank you for
It's
asking.
greatly appreciated as well. So yeah, man, we just wish you the best.
Thank you.
And whatever happens, and we support you nonetheless. All right.
Thank you. Why I can't see the comments? Where they at?
Oh, it's probably for the best. It's probably for the best you didn't see them, but not because they're bad, but because it distracts things from the situation. But if you were to
Okay.
click on your options, it should be, I think, under, it might be underneath brand or something, like some of the different options or whatever. I can't remember how it looks on phones, but there's a section there.
Mm.
It might be three dots or whatever.
Hmm.
Can you see the comments yet?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, don't go reading them just yet.
Oh, they say.
But
Oh, they
let's
say don't read the comments. Okay, I'm not gonna read them.
never read the comments when you're on live. It's not worth it ever. Because
When I see,
it's
wait.
everything.
Somebody said when I see Anthony with another woman, listen. Let me tell you this.
Oh Lord, you see, that's why we don't read the comments.
No, 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 no. Let me tell you
Go for
this.
it. Mm-hmm.
I'm a great woman. Anthony is
Mm.
a great man. If it's meant for us to be together, we'll be together. But I love him so much that if somebody else make him happy, go for it. I'm not gonna listen. Listen, I'm not gonna feel no type of way. If he's mine, he's mine. I know y'all in his DMs.
I mean, I was in his DMs, but not like that. But yeah.
I know. Listen, the thing about women clothed up, they is so disrespectful. They don't even care
Mm,
about the project. Oh, they don't care if you got a husband. I mean, they don't care if a man got a wife or nothing. They
tell
just
us.
gonna jump in. As soon as they figure out that it's something odd, they just gonna jump in like, man, y'all really gotta be careful out here. Okay?
Mm,
Be very careful. But me, I'm not one that's worried. I just believe what's mine is mine.
Who
It
did you
is
see in the
what
comments? I've got a few. There's Angel, there's Grace, there's CB,
I
there's
don't know.
TM.
I
Which
see.
one? Which one did you see in the DMs? Because there's a couple of them. I'm sure
Yeah,
they're in the
yeah,
group.
yeah.
Okay.
Look, they're
So if you
probably
just
all
okay.
in his. They probably all in his DMs. Listen, like we don't we know what y'all come in here for. You know, we already showed y'all. We exposed too much to y'all already. So you know, like y'all don't want to put in the work. Oh, you gotta go find somebody to go put in the work with. You know what I mean? So
I
I
hear
don't
that.
care about that. I see it all the time
I
with
got you,
great
baby.
people. You know.
I mean, I love the blue dress on you too, so don't
Oh,
worry about
thank
that.
you, thank you. You know.
Right. I'll be
Thank
in the DMs too. Don't worry.
you.
But
Oh,
no, honestly, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming through and honoring the call as well. So we'll definitely stay in touch as always. And you never, if you ever want to talk, I'm always here. But audience, we're gonna love you. We're gonna leave you. And
peace out.
say thank you for coming through. But
Thank you.
don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's not much I
Yeah.
wouldn't do. So behave yourselves out there. Okay. The streets are cold.
Behave.
Okay. Behave. Yes, because